First, you may be confused by what context has to do with content, and what has all this got to do with doom romance anyway? If you don't find out in this video, I'll give you 100% of your money back. That's 100% guaranteed. Well, here's how. An author's perception of doomed romance is shaped by their values and context. Robert Browning's poems, My Last Duchess, 1842, and Porphyria's Lover, 1836, through dramatic monologues and psychotic male narrators, reflect English patriarchal supremacy. Throughout the Victorian era, simultaneously, Browning's poems challenge stubborn Victorian values. On the contrary, the verse novel We Come Apart, 2017, by Sarah Crossan and Brian Conahan, while still being a doomed romance, discussed more contemporary issues, such as racism, immigration, and domestic violence, demonstrating how this affects post-Brexit Britain. In Porphyria's Lover, the idea of class distinction is explored and challenged through the narrator and his partner being of a different class in an illicit relationship. The asymmetrical rhyme scheme reflects the imbalance of power, where Porphyria has a stronger influence in the relationship. Who would have thought this would be the case? This imbalance relates to the hierarchical order and class distinction prevalent in the Victorian era. Every second line in the rhyme scheme represents Porphyria and her impact, while every other line of the rhyme scheme represents the mood of the narrator. Through the line, murmuring how she loved me, she too weak for all her heart's endeavour to set her struggling passion free, Browning represents the class distinction and the impact that an illicit relationship, like that in the poem, has on society due to class differentiation, showing the contrast between what Porphyria wants and what societal pressures are forcing her to do. In his poem, My Last Duchess, Browning explores similar ideas. Browning uses the symbol of Fra Panof's paintings of the narrator's last duchess to show the class distinction between the narrator and his wife, as well as power imbalances between the two genders during the time. The quote, "'Twas not her husband's presence only," called that spot of joy into the duchess's cheek, juxtaposes the duke and the duchess's positions in the relationship, and represents the amount of authority the duke had during the time, due to the strict societal class distinction and power imbalance. The two Robert Browning poems explored signify how doomed romantic narratives are shaped by context, as well as the view of the composer. We Come Apart explores contemporary issues such as racism, domestic violence, and immigration in the world of post-Brexit Britain. The authors use foreshadowing to show the effect that domestic violence has on the female protagonist, Jess, her family, and community. It also indicates future inevitability, just in case the violence in her family gets out of control. Like just in case I ever need to get out of this place in a hurry. Another technique used is simile. This is used to describe how the male protagonist, Niku, is viewed by Jess when she initially meets him. One of the boys' heads is bobbing up and down like a beach ball. When he comes up, he shakes his head like a dog. This ends up being the start of a doomed romance due to preconceived societal judgments. Robert Browning uses the context of the time to convey his views of Victorian society. In Porphyria's Lover and My Last Duchess, he explores the ideas of questioning Victorian values and breaking the rules, and the wider implications that this would have on society in the Victorian era. This shows how Browning has responded to his context and era. In their novel We Come Apart, Sarah Crossan and Brian Conahan show how times have changed. They explore contemporary issues which affect the world today. Some of these issues are racism, immigration, and domestic violence. Although My Last Duchess, Porphyria's Lover, and We Come Apart are all doomed romances, Browning's poems were made 200 years earlier than We Come Apart. Therefore, all three texts represent different time periods and values, showing how the world has changed drastically over time, shaping the context and values of each of the composers. So tell me now, have I fulfilled my initial promise yet?